get there.
This very important portion of the meeting will now begin, and we'll turn it over to our Finance Director, Mr. Jerry Varon. Go,
Okay, I'd
Jerry.
like to start with the capital budget. It's time sensitive to my coworker here on my left, so we can get working on things. And it's 3 pages long, and I've given you the first page at this point, so we can try to stay focused here.
Good for you, Jerry.
So what this page represents is capital budgets that have been approved in prior years and projects that we've worked on. So the first section there, number 1 to 15, are projects that are completed to date. And the numbers, the balance that you see there are overruns or under budget amounts based on our capital budget. It's not that we, for instance, if we took Hawthorne Street, it's not that like we budgeted $400,000 for Hawthorne Street and we went out and spent $500,000, so we spent $105,000 more than planned. In these cases, the extra costs were approved with later amendments to the contract, or we've dug the street up and it turns out we should do a little extra work in there while we have it open. So this is just in relation to what was approved in the capital plan, not what was actually approved by council with the tenders and that type of thing. So over the last, and some of these have a history of up to 3 years running projects. So over the last 3 years, we've overspent in our capital fund on those 15 projects, taking the good with the bad, $664,000. And it hasn't been an issue on cash flow because the capital fund has money, and there's 7 items just below there that are not completed, which we have budgeted for in the capital budget, and are not completed yet and not done yet, but they are being worked on. So they've given us the cash flow to keep working. So we've kind of monitored this, and I just this year brought it up with Jeff and said, before this becomes a huge issue, we should clear this up. So what's important here is that we've completed projects in the capital fund, and the capital fund has, I guess, funded $664,000 to do these. The not completed ones, the fire truck engine 1 has been ordered, it's just not delivered, so it's not paid for yet. The Mariner Center project has been put on hold for various different reasons, but we still expect that to be done. Renovations, the wind turbines, we've made our big payment on that, but there will still be some more expenses to come, and we've put money aside. The $60,000 is the balance on the facade program, and we've budgeted for starting the main street bump outs and portable screeners. So this is stuff that you've already approved in prior years, and that's just kind of the balance of what's there. Yeah. So the 664 is a number that you'll need to remember because it'll show up on the next page. All these items, again, you should be familiar with because they were talked about in prior budgets and approved in the capital budget. Make sense so far?
It makes sense so far. So what you're saying, I'm just going to go down to 21. The facade program has $60,000 that they didn't spend last year, but the work is ongoing. So,
correct.
That money's still there.
We'd set aside $150,000, and we granted 90
okay.
to this point.
So the people that want to finish up don't have to worry. And then we're going to say to you, Jerry, we would like more money for phase 2, right? Separate.
If that's what you want to say, you can say
But if
that.
I said that, that's what, if we said that as a council, that's true, right?
Yeah,
That's how this works.
if they said they only needed $60,000 for
Yeah.
the current year, we already have it set aside for them. We don't need new money for that.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. I'm not the best at budgets. I just need to understand it. Yeah, yeah.
So I've tried to break this up a little bit as well. A lot of projects, a lot of ideas on the slate.
Does Tina have this stuff? Oh, good, sorry. Thanks, Tina.
So the first 28 items we have discussed in the past, and they were items that were pushed out into the current budget year or further, but we have at least discussed them and talked about them in the past. We put budget numbers beside them, and some, through Dave and Jeff and I, we feel that need to be put in the 16-17 budget, and others that we can push out to the plans for future years. One thing that we did do this year in there is, number one, typically that was $250,000 in the past. We've increased that to $350,000, and that's for street paving. Okay?
That's still not much, but that's good.
So, a lot of big numbers this year. Again, the first 28 items were discussed in the past, and then we have 27 items that have come up in the last 12 months. And we put numbers over there. You'll see just above number 29, you'll see the prior year budget shortfall, and that's just the capital budget. And that's where the 664 comes in. So we do, and we recommend that we fund that back to the capital fund. So in total, you'll be looking down, and you'll see a capital spending plan on the very bottom of $6,600,000 for the current year. Big number. Some of this stuff is still a bit of a moving target, as you know, with funding requests from the province. We've asked for $2 million there, and there's also potential of up to $2 million more through ACOA. Now, those are 50% dollars, so that puts that same kind of number on the town to come up with. So, Dave, Jeff, and I have gone through this. This is kind of through a lot of deliberations and not always all in agreement. This is kind of where we've plugged the years of when things can be done, and it's up for consideration. You'll see in the first number 29 and down to 32, a couple of the smaller items were done just this year that weren't a budget, but I think they were discussed, and a couple were started because we did get some funding for them as well. So even though they weren't budgeted for last year.
Got lights. Whose light's on first? Oh, I know, nobody's. Can you fix that for me? Do that? I don't know what to do.
I was just trying to get situated, Jerry. In the additions to the plan from 29 through to 55, you've budgeted for approximately $3 million for the next year, fiscal year. And then beyond that, the plan for 17, 18, 18, 19, and so on, there's not much budgeted. Does that mean there won't be, there's something, I'm sure something's going to happen in the future in which we need replacement, upgrading, or new? I'm just curious as to, it's up to us, I guess, as councillors to decide what might happen next year or the year after. Perhaps.
That's right. I mean, when you look at the bottom line there, you'll see 6.6 million for the current year, 4 million the next year, just under 3 the next year, and another 4 million the following year. So those are big numbers for a town our size. You're looking at $18 million over 5 years. And that's all done with, you know, then my final sheet that I'll show you is how we hope to fund it and do that, pay for it all. But 18 million over 5 years is a big number for a town our size.
Okay. And I just may have missed part of it. We hope to get a lot of the funding from other sources?
Well, of the 18 million over the next 5 years, right now, we're looking at, a couple of co-applications and one through the province, and just those applications themselves would amount to about $4 million in funding.
For only 4 million?
4 million for those 3 applications.
Oh, dear. I'm just trying to get a hold, so just trying to think out loud and help me, people around the table. What are our chances of getting the $4 million?
Oh, well, I guess the CAO is going to answer that one.
Yeah, I mean, you never know, right? You
Yeah, I
never know.
understand, and I totally understand that,
Yeah,
but.
so the tie-in there is that there are projects in here that will be contingent upon receiving that money. So we deferred a project today because we were expecting to hear from the province on an infrastructure grant. If we don't get that grant, then, that's contrary to the plan. We'll come back, we'll revise the plan, we'll bring a new plan forward. What we're looking for you to consider is this as the plan as we foresee it today. If something happens where somebody doesn't come through with funding, or we get hit by, something that we don't see coming, a catastrophic failure that we need to address, then we will adjust the plan, come back and advise you accordingly.
So my next question, if you don't mind, if we are fortunate to receive all the funding that we've applied for, then the town of Yarmouth budgets on its own for the balance.
Looking for page 3?
Page 3 will be good.
This might clarify a little bit on your questions, Jim. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jerry.
So, as Jeff said, it's a bit of a moving target, but we do have to plan, with what we have today, what we know today. And you'll see on page 3 is how we hope to fund this $18 million. When you go down through, we budget for our depreciation, giving us 1.8 million roughly. We have gas tax funding. Number 3 is the one that we need to maybe discuss, and we may have some consideration about, and that is transfer from our capital reserves. And that really is to kind of balance the 664 that's we've spent over and above in our capital fund over the past number of years. So to make this all work at this and the way it's laid out right now, we'd be looking to transfer some money from reserves in year 1. We have other grants from Connect 2. There's an Ecoa streetscape that we have, some for the branding that's being done. And then 7, 8, and 9 are the 3 that are kind of up in the air right now. They've been worked on over the last month or weeks and things, but still not confirmed. And 10, where we're getting a transit grant, and 11, I just wanted to show because I've shown the full project cost in this column, that the water utility will pay for about $825,000 of the Cliff Street, Brown Street project through the water utility.
So I just have one more question. Number 3, transfer from reserves of $750,000. About how much do we have in the reserves?
I was going to ask that myself.
We've got, we've been good with reserves, but that we haven't used them. We've put money aside when we've had the funds available. In our capital fund right now, and that's where we said if we just did this plan and we didn't move any more money in and we paid for everything, we could potentially be 600,000 short, kind of thing. But today we have a little over $2 million in our capital fund that we've been using as cash flow. So before it comes to a problem, that's why we're saying we'd look to backfill that project. In our capital reserves, we have 800,000 in cash. Operating reserves, we have over 1 million. And in our operating fund, because some of the money's not been moved over, we have about 3.7 million in cash in there as well. So we have reserves, we have the capability to transfer it from reserves as opposed to borrowing. And in future years, start looking at putting some of the money back when these projects are completed. But I wouldn't expect us to be able to do that for the next 2 or 3 years.
Good.
One final, so
No,
that,
you said final 3 times.
Oh,
ago.
yeah,
No, you go ask your questions. Come on. This is good for all of us.
you still, I know you got thought long and hard about this, and the comment I wish to make is that you're operating my kind of business.
Great questions. Okay, Councillor Dennis, you're on.
I just have a question on 41 and 42, more 41. Is this a new screener that we're going to get to help change Class B into Class A compost? I know.
Okay, so, yeah. The trommel screener for finished compost is actually also part of the operational process. When we've taken partly finished compost from the dome building and taken it into the greenhouses that no longer have covers, we have, in the past, we've screened at that point, done initial screening, and so it would also serve that purpose. That screener died a natural death a little while ago, so it would be in regular use, not just at the end of the process, but during the process as well.
So that's not until 2017.
Right, so we can rent a screener
Okay.
to do what we need to do in the interim.
Okay. But we'll be renting it to clean up Lake George, but then we'll also be renting it to use at the compost facility as well?
If we choose to do additional screening at the compost facility this year, it isn't mandatory that we do screening every year.
Oh, okay.
It's a good idea what we do, and if we had our own screener, we could do it regularly. But if we rent one and for the purposes in Lake George, I think the rental is typically a month basis, and so that probably won't take a month.
Right.
So we do some additional screening. I don't know that we would rent for 2 months.
Okay, good, thank you.
Good. Councillor Dawes?
Thank you, Your Worship. Is there any plan or thought into combining I'm now thinking parking lots and sidewalks. And we've done such a marvelous job down on Hawthorne Street. And is there any plan that we continue that sustainable vein when we do future, let's say, parking lots or sidewalks especially?
I don't understand.
The money,
Yeah.
the savings, the long-term savings in building sustainably. Oh gosh, what was it? $1 in. I wrote it in my report. It was very clear when I did write it. $1 that it costs to build saves $9 in repair. It is initially when you do build eco-friendly and sustainably, especially when it comes to, let's say, permeable concrete pavers. They are very expensive compared to just normal, regular asphalt initially, but the long-term savings, they've proven themselves. They have a history. They have a 50-year life cycle, and I could go on and on and on. But before I do, I'll let the CAO speak.
Okay, so the engineer is aware of those, I guess, alternative, more progressive methods, and in fact oversaw the project on Hawthorne Street and the rain gardens and stuff that we did there.
Yes?
There is in the budget, if you look at line 55.
That's what I'm looking at,
Yeah,
yes?
so 55
Actually,
is
54, 55.
$4 million in streetscape and other. The other includes parking lots, it's streetscape and parking lot capacity improvement in our downtown core.
Okay, that's all under 55.
That's all in 55. It is yet to be determined exactly what details.
Which and where?
What streets, what bump outs, whatever. So that's a process we'll go through, and you'll see the bulk of that will actually be spent next year and the year after. This year will be just the thin edge of that.
All right, good, thank you very much. You just made my heart go pit-a-pat.
Okay, good, Jer? Oh, sorry, Deputy.
Jerry, the number 38, the Milton Park improvements, just locate me. Is that Coronation Park or is that up on Brunswick Street?
Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, you better say Coronation.
It's the other. So what I'm aware of that you may or may not be is that the park that is proposed or was proposed, we can remember seeing a concept for that, very elaborate, and you'll recall that there was a commitment or a promise that members of the community would solicit donations to
Yes.
build out that park.
Exactly.
This 50,000 is not for the elements of the trees and the gardens and the benches and all that. This is basically for the paths and the basic establishment of the ground. So hard surfacing, some wiring for lighting underground, and you are going to see in the very near future, I think it's going to the Communities in Bloom at their next meeting, what they're intending to offer the town. But this is to establish the basic layout of the park, so the hard walkways and some lighting. But all of those elements in that promise are, the details of that are forthcoming. I believe, if I recall correctly, a new group has formed specifically. You'll recall that we had Communities in Bloom and the Milton Improvement Society both very interested in that. I believe a new group has formed with members of both, willing to take on and make a promise to the town or see a promise through. So I've sort of earmarked that amount in there because I know that is what is contained in their proposal, which is yet to see this table.
So my understanding, now I'll have to get Linda to go back and look. My understanding was someone was taking care of that park. We weren't paying for that park. That's just my understanding. Unless I completely missed something, that the funding was coming from the community. We gave them the land. Well, the land's there to develop. So I'm way off base on something.
I don't know, I don't think you're too far off base.
No, I
I
don't
think,
think so
I think the original plan was that there's going to be land there, and they're going to work with Communities in Bloom and this Milton
Improvement Society.
Improvement Society, and that they were going to erect some sort of a park, build some sort of a park, but it wouldn't be the town's responsibility or cost to do that. It was all going to be sort of a non-profit thing that they would be funding, looking for funding, and it wasn't going to be no cost to the taxpayers of Yarmouth. And responsibility, it wasn't going to be part of another parks for the town of Yarmouth to take care of. That was my understanding way back when, and I don't think you're too far off. And I think that was former Councillor Langel's understanding at last I talked to him, that it was going to be no cost to the taxpayer of Yarmouth, and they would not be responsible for mowings of the lawns or any other stuff. to that expect. That was my belief, that's what he said. So unless there's something new and different, I think we better go back and look at the minutes or whatever it is to find that, so.
Councillor Dawes?
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, I would suggest we do pull up the minutes and review them, because as I recall, the responsibility of the town staff was going to be on the physical side only, as in cutting the lawn, maintaining, but there was, again, that's why I stress, we should review the minutes. I seem to recall that town staff was going to be asked to physically help with the pathway. And then after that, it was just going to be regular maintenance as in other town parks. But I agree with Councillor McIsaac. Pull up the minutes and review them.
You got it, Linda? Oh, we got the CAO. Go ahead.
Yeah, so that is it's a placeholder. It is not taking the place of a commitment of council. You aren't making that commitment if you approve the budget. There is a proposal. I've seen it in draft. It will be going to Communities in Bloom, where some of you participate, and if it gets recommended from there, it would come here. I can tell you I met with a group of people, including Councillor Langell, about this, I'm going to say a month and a half ago, maybe a little bit longer, and so it was understood at that time that that would be an element of the project that would be part of their proposal. Not that it was something that council had approved, but it would be part of their proposal.
Yeah,
So-
I understand that. I understand that part. What I'm saying is, I distinctly remember sitting here and walking away saying there's no cost to council. Not that there wasn't a commitment to council, that there would be no cost to council. And now there's $50,000 on the table.
I asked that specifically. I remember that.
And that's going to be just the beginning. Okay. Go ahead, Jerry. No, we need to know these things. We have to know
No,
these things.
well, this list is here for your input. One way to handle that one is you push it out into the next year, and if over the next 3 weeks, months, you decide that you agree to it, you want to do it in this year, then the 50,000 will be put back into this year.
Okay. Well, you can make a couple lights. Councillor Dawes? and then
Thank you, Your Worship. No, I don't want to push it out.
I just have to press the
Unless it
button.
pushes itself out. So my recommendation, my suggestion would be to just leave it where it is and pull the minutes, the previous minutes, and which will clarify everything for us, and then we'll know exactly
Well,
which
it's not
direction to
just
go.
The minutes. The minutes are just the motion.
No, I'm sorry,
discussion.
no, not the minutes, not the minutes. I actually, we can go back to streaming that particular meeting and that particular section of the meeting. I believe it was during,
She'll find it.
yeah. So that would be my recommendation, that I would feel comfortable with. Not necessarily toss it right now, but just leave it where it is and wait until we have actually verified it ourselves.
Okay? Do you have your light on? You good?
Just one quick question. We're not approving this today.
No.
No, we're just looking and going through it, and,
Exactly.
yeah, we got a longer process yet for this. We're just, okay, going over.
CAO?
So that's a good segue. So we need to understand what you wish to do with this in regards to getting to the point of approval. We have, it's a draft document for you to consider. We have council meeting in May, second week, and we have a council meeting in June, second week. The staff are available to meet as often as you want, to bring you additional information, should you wish. But I guess we need direction of of what are we going to do from here to get to the point of approval? What's the target, I guess? If the target is,
June. May is 2 weeks away, without presentations, with a lot of us away, or I say a lot of us, you're gonna be gone, I'm gonna be gone, Phil's gonna be gone. I mean, May is... Is June too far for you? What about later in May? It's not the date, it's the before, to sit down and go over everything, right? Good. Deputy?
Your worship and fellow councilors, I don't think that staff can present a perfect capital budget. And I'm almost sorry that I brought up about the Milton Park improvements. I know that, but I think that I don't see why we can't, this is a committee of the whole meeting. And so I see no reason why we couldn't approve the budget in this capital project budget in principle, and then still have discussion later on, because it's not going to be. They know the town from a staff point of view a whole lot better than I will ever know the town, and and they know all the elements that. That maybe some and many that we didn't think of, or that I didn't think of. So I'm at this point, and they're showing great responsibility. I mean, we still have lots of money in reserve at this point, and so I'm comfortable with supporting what's been presented by Jerry and worked on by staff. No, I'm just saying that I'm not making, I don't want to necessarily make a motion if it's not going to be generally supported, but I'm saying at this point I'm comfortable with what's been presented, and it's never going to be perfect for you or myself, so I say let's jump in and go with the flow.
yeah, so this is you're just receiving it now. It is this year 6.7 million, so I certainly understand you wanting to take it, understand it. I guess the thing that I would suggest to you is that June is getting a bit late for the capital budget. Certainly May is more preferable from our point of view, so two things that we can do to accommodate both of our needs. Yours to feel comfortable with the decision, and ours to execute the work. If you're willing to meet, once, twice over the next couple of weeks to discuss the details of these different projects, we're more than willing to do that. If you have specific questions around any of these, that we can bring you the answers to get you to a point. And by all means, if there are things in the list that you think, well, you have opinions about, some of these things are certainly optional. I wouldn't suggest that they all entirely are, but and there are some variables that we just don't have control over, and those are the funds that have to come from other sources for some of these to happen. So, Your Worship, I would ask that before you leave today, that we pull out our calendars and pick another meeting or two over the next couple of weeks to deal with this.
Let's do that now, then.
It's going to be difficult. I just polled a couple of councils because there's the UNSM conference next week for 3 days.
Next week's right off.
And then the week after is the asset management conference where we'll be at for 3 days.
And the week after that's planning.
So,
Okay.
Anyway, Phil, Councillor Mooney's not here today either, so it'll give him time to look over that, and he gets back on this Sunday, so he's back. So, I mean, we just got put it before us, and I'm not prepared to make any decision on anything right now.
No, the intent today was to get it
Yeah.
before you to start the discussion,
Yeah,
because
yeah, that's what I figured,
there's-
that's what I thought it was.
there's a couple of moving parts that we hope to, I guess, figure out in the next week or so with the funding from the province and the COA. And then we'd be able to move on full steam, because the big project that's in there is the Cliff Street sewer water treatment section. That's close to half of the budget at 2.7 million, I think, this year. So it's a big number, and that's one of the moving targets right now.
Planning is the 18th, 19th, 20th.
Okay. But we've got from the 9th to the 13th somewhere in there, not the 12th, that's council. No, that's right. Okay, what do we got? The second, I'm in Montreal, yeah. That first week's gone, next week's gone.
That first week is gone for me too.
18th, 19th, 20th. So what about from the 9th to the 13th? What's in there? Oh, you guys are going? For that whole week? Pretty much? Oh, 9, 10, 11?
Sunday morning, 7 o'clock?
The Grand for breakfast?
Okay, so,
10th, 11th, whatever it is.
so there's the 12th, but it depends if you had to
Or 11th.
prepare anybody. If there's the morning of the 12th, before council. But it depends on if you guys feel like you have to prepare anything, like I'm thinking it's just responding to our questions, but that's up to you. I don't want to push it.
10th, 11th,
No, I mean,
or 9th, 10th, 11th, oops. May, 9th, 10th, 11th.
ready.
Jeff can make it on the way to 12th and 13th.
Capital is it, right? There's other budget items like for...
There's our refer to budget list, right? Yeah. Go ahead.
The study that we're waiting to get the RFP from, is that budgeted in here? That's capital. That's what I thought. That's what I thought. I just wanted to be sure. Great.
So is anybody opposed to the morning or, I want to say afternoon, but maybe the morning of the 12th? Jerry, you're just getting back from asset management, but you still got 2 weeks.
Yeah, I'm actually
Not back.
away on the 12th and 13th.
Oh, so you're gone all that week and we're gone all, so I've got, yeah. I've
As
got the 16th.
far as the
that's it.
capital budget piece goes, I don't know if I'm sure Jeff can handle the capital part without me. I've done all the work, he can do the Gloria part at the end. What's that? The 12th and 13th, Thursday, Friday. So asset management is 9th, 10th.
I think so.
9th, 10th, and 11th of asset management.
Away the 25th, 26th, 27th.
I'm here on the 16th, don't ask me how, but I am. Yeah, I just asked if anybody was opposed to it.
Can't hear you.
Is anybody opposed to the morning of the 12th?
No, I'm fine with it. How long would that meeting be?
What day of the week?
Would it be-
Thursday, yeah.
It's council night, so we're going to be here all day and night. Did you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh.
I'm not getting answers to my questions. How long?
We just said all day. 9 till 4, but we have council that night.
Cancel that evening.
You're only going to deal with the capital budget at that meeting.
Yeah.
That's the problem with the acoustics in this room.
Sorry, we're talking about just the capital budget, so it would not take all day. I think the most time I could entertain you on the capital budget would be a couple hours. Okay, so why don't we plan for something like 9:30 till 12, and on the 12th, and we can fill that time or less, if I'm not terribly entertaining. If you have questions we can't answer, then that, we'll take that away. If you have questions in the meantime, please send them by email to Jerry and I, and we can work on the answers and share them. Okay?
Okay, so everybody's good, we're gonna meet on the, oh, damn it.
Linda, you're going to send out a notice, aren't you? Yeah.
Yeah, but we've been warned, there it is. Thanks, Linda. Accept. It's already done. Okay, anything else? Are we good for this one? We need a council meeting. Okay, motion to adjourn, okay?
you-
Okay, I'll call the meeting to
One
order.
other item on the agenda.
What? Can't do that. Oh, for crying out loud.
I'll be quick because
Okay,
I
yeah.
know it's going to be a meeting in a couple weeks' time when we actually discuss it. But again, wanted to get it in front of you. We don't need to look at numbers. I think that's important. There's a couple pages of kind of notes that we may want to just read over quickly.
Thanks, Jerry.
So we struggled with this year's budget, trying to get it balanced. It's still not balanced. We're gonna need some input and help doing so. At this point, still showing about $123,000 deficit, which we're not allowed to budget. But on page 1, just what's in here, and some of the highlights. With our revenues, our assessments are down approximately 2% overall, which is about a $200,000 revenue decline for us. The next three, the residential tax rate going down 4 cents, the commercial tax rate going down 8 cents, is part of the sewer rate increase plan that we've done. This is year 4 of our 5-year plan. So that again just is kind of moving, reducing our tax revenue, but it increases into our sewer rates. And that's another about $200,000 difference, but it's not lost revenue, it's just going to be in a different line. We did budget some transit revenue, and the compost tipping fees, we're suggesting that we increase those by 3%. With expenses, again, in the capital side, we'll spend over $6.9 million for this year. There's about $3 million on the one big project. We needed about $1 million for Domtex to take care of that issue. There's a couple of different options there, but I guess it doesn't matter which way you boil the water, it'll end up being close to $1 million. And we will be spending, right now, the plan is to spend about $18.5 million over 5 years on there. In the operating budget, or along with the $350 in the capital, we'll spend close to $600,000 on roads and sidewalk improvements. We'll continue to fund our depreciation, and we're not adding any debt for these capital projects with what's been proposed. We've got a Director of Asset Management Infrastructure now. It's a new position. The transit service is in place. We did budget some revenues, but we know that our first year, we're probably looking at close to $100,000 net cost. Street lights are fully converted to the LED. We'll save about $125,000 annually on just street light electric. So $125 less for Nova Scotia Power in this budget. The ferry terminal does operate with no net cost to the town. The contracts and rents that we have there pay for what needs to be done. And the old high school is still in our books, and it costs about $120,000 to maintain for the year. Those are some of the highlights that I was thinking of. The other page that you should, page 2 is the highlight summary, high-level summary. And again, we're still showing a $123,000 deficit, which we got to take care of before we can approve a budget. We'll dig into the details of what's going on there, but in those numbers, you know, Jeff and I have done what we can to this point. Didn't want to do any more without your input, so we'll take a few meetings to get through this and actually get it balanced. But if you flip to the last page, just to say, these are things that have come by email from Linda from the council meetings on motions of deferred to budget and those kind of things. So these are 12 items that are not in this budget still. Okay, so these are emails that I've received from Linda over the last 10 months kind of thing. And so when we dig into the numbers and get into the actual operating budget, as we add things there, those will be in addition to the $125,000 that we have to take out somehow.
Oh, sorry, Deputy.
Jerry, on the very first page under revenues, we're talking about 2% loss in assessment, and you're going to make that up with sewer rate increases?
No, what we've done is assessments, if we left the rates alone and didn't change sewer rates, just the assessments themselves would mean we'd have $200,000 less in revenue this year to work with.
So are you said,
So part of our plan over the last number of years, and this is year 4 of our 5-year plan, is we're going to decrease tax rates and increase our sewer rates. So the assessments is a standalone item, and then the decrease of the 4 cents in residential, 8 cents in commercial is offset with the sewer rate increase.
I think I asked this question last year, but so I understand what you've just said. What would happen if we leave the residential rates and commercial rates where they are?
Residential rates, just one sec. If I get into.
Because you have a loss of 100 and something on the other end. I didn't want to put you on the spot with that, but just.
I have it. It's, just need to find, I'm on top of my head, I believe the residential rate works out to about, 1 penny is about $27,000. And where's the commercial? Thought it was around 18 or 19, wasn't it? A little less. Here we go. Yeah, 27 on the residential, and commercial's actually 13.
So if the rate just went
13.
down,
Per
instead of,
Per penny.
if the rate just went down, instead of 4 cents, went down 2 cents, and the tax, and the commercial rate went down 4 cents instead of 8 cents. Is that, I know there's extra costs in the operation of a business when you talk about sewer rates, but I'm just throwing that out.
Right. And that's, you know, where council needs to decide what they want to do with the tax rate. This was part of the plan, so I
Yeah.
know 4 years ago, when we talked about doing this plan, there were some members of the public here and talked about the sewer rate study, and we made a commitment at that point that we would follow this plan. So we're, you know, the plan right now says 4 cent reduction and 8 cent reduction. So I guess the wording to them would be then we would actually be increasing tax rates by those 2 cents or 4 cents.
Sure. And on the last page, those are items out of capital for the most part, well, for some of them anyway, like lighting for the Maud Lewis Trail, wouldn't that come out of capital?
Yeah, depending on the cost. Depending on the cost, we have a
Okay.
threshold.
And like if we dream up a $100,000 project for the waterfront development, that would come out of capital.
That'd be capital.
Yeah. Okay.
Waterfront, yeah, waterfront has a list.
Anyway, those are my comments, Your Worship.
Thank you. Councillor Dawes?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just for information, for my information, please, Jerry, how much is a 4-stream receptacle? On the last page, number 8.
You know what would cost, Dave?
Probably $2,500.
Really?
Yeah, I think the
All right.
How much?
last couple were close
2,500.
to,
2,500?
Yeah.
yeah, close to 3,000, I think the last ones we got. Yeah,
That's just going from memory.
yeah.
Wow, all right, thank you very much. I mean, it doesn't make or break the budget, but...
No, in our budget, we do have some money for forestry and waste receptacles, but we budget to buy a couple. These were in addition to all that.
Because I see number 9, we're looking at 7 additional for stream, so I was just wondering, how much is one of these? And I know they don't make or break a budget, but they do add up. And that
Yeah.
is an exorbitant amount of money. Truly. Thank you.
Deputy?
Sorry about all this. Under revenues, and you talk about compost tipping fees to increase, I hear negative comments, not a lot, but 3 or 4 negative comments about the cost of tipping fees, and I don't know how to respond sometime. I'd like to be able to respond, Jeff or whomever.
So I guess I would suggest you could respond that the tipping fees that we charge are set basically on a cost recovery basis. And Jerry, as part of our budgeting process, we look at all of our costs of handling waste from our operations at the compost facility to our contribution to the net costs of the waste park. And actually, one of the really great things about the waste park is that they've set the tipping fees at a level that doesn't require additional operating infusions from the municipalities. We just pay a tipping fee for the garbage we have collected on our residential collection. We pay the same as anyone showing up there, and that pays for the operation, and they fund the depreciation just like we do. So when the C&D cell is full, there should be enough money, or there should be a significant amount of money in reserve to pay for the next cell. And when the loader or the excavator have served their useful life, there should be money there to go a long ways towards replacing it. So the fees are a cost recovery, so if people think the fees are high, then I guess we can all agree the cost of garbage disposal is a lot higher than it used to be. But it is what it is. The one thing, if it's citizens that, in our community that are complaining about that, you can remind them that they can bring 200 kilos with no charge at all. And I've taken, stuff to the landfill, to the transfer station several times over the last few years, just doing small cleanups around my garage or whatever. And, it is always under the 200 kilos. And I'm always wondering, is this the time it's going to be over? Because, but it's always been under 200 kilos. So there is a free service there that is subsidized by us. And then the intention was so that residents don't have to feel like they don't have a place to take stuff when it's ready, when it's at end of life.
This might show my ignorance then. The demolition of the Zion Church, a lot of that material did not left town because...
Okay, so there are private construction and demolition debris sites, and then there are public. A lot of that stuff was probably inert brick that somebody may have had a use for. But I don't know what our fees are to dispose of brick, but we don't bury brick. Right? If they'd have brought that separated, we'd have put it aside, and it would have been, if it's inert, it would have been fine for fill material. Wood, I don't know what we charge for wood, but separated wood is a lower fee. So if you separate it, and they were doing it appeared to me that they were doing a reasonable job at separating the waste, unless they had a market for it. Somebody wanted that brick for a purpose. I don't know why they wouldn't have brought it to us. But we often get the comments from, we talk about it at the Waste Park meetings, as a matter of fact, the high cost of dealing with a derelict building that we might pick up a tax sale. It does cost quite a bit of money to dispose of that waste at the waste park, but all that is a share of the real costs of providing the infrastructure and the operation. It is not cheap to dispose of waste, but there's no profit in it. It's a break-even scenario.
Thanks.
Good. Okay, Jerry? Anything else?
No, again, we'll just have to set a time. It'll be 2 weeks out at least to deal with the operating budget.
Okay. Because we're going to try to take care of the capital that day, hopefully. So. Yeah. Yeah. So we're good, as long as we get the capital projects, so Dave will be able to go play in the town. Right, Dave? Okay, so are we good? Can we adjourn this one? Motion to adjourn? Okay. Call the meeting to order, record of attendance, any conflicts of interest? Thank you, guys. And it was Danny's motion. You got it there, Linda? I had it written down, but it's the one, recommended council that Day-Night Signs of Dartmouth receive the contract for the fabrication and installation of wayfinding signage, and there was a price, $191 or something. Yeah, wasn't far off, okay. Good, okay. So who wants to make that motion? Okay. Moved and seconded, any discussion? Question's been called, all those in favor? Aye, contrary? Motion carried. Good job, everyone. Have a good evening. Somebody turn the heat on. Man, my Lebanese blood can't handle that. Oh.